Welcome everyone to this week's Fish Friday video. Today we have a very special fish, one of my personal favorite Texas fish, and sought after by fly fishermen all along the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic coast. Today's fish is the red drum, or redfish, as many people call it. This picture does not do it justice, but we'll get into some different pictures. As I said, this fish is found all along the Gulf of Mexico. Welcome back, Tavi. We are talking about the red drum. This fish is found all along the Gulf of Mexico and all up and down the Atlantic coast of the United States and down into Mexico as well. It has this dark color along the back that fades into white along the belly. It has two separate dorsal fins, the first being spine. It's got a pretty big mouth with a conical head. Excuse me. Very big scales, but the easiest thing about it is the eye spot. The eye spot on the tail. Well, we have not gotten far, Tavi. You're right in time. So these fish do actually get pretty big. These a 3-year-old fish typically is between 6 and 8 pounds. That's your typical 3-year-old fish, but the largest fish on record was a little over 94 pounds. It was caught in 1984. These fish can live a very long time. They have a lifespan of up to 35 years, or lifespan of 35 years on average. They can get up to 50 years. These fish are very long-lived. Some of their other color patterns, why they might be called redfish. You can see here, this has that beautiful bronze color, fading into the white belly. Oh, still got that red spot. However, that's just the most common spot. It's very rare for the redfish to not have the spot, but it is quite common that you get other spots, like this one. This is a really, really odd one. All these spots in here makes it look really different. Well, I'm partially colorblind, Tavi, so it looked bronze to me. These live near the passes of the barrier islands. So along the coast of Texas, there are islands that are a little bit away from the coastline, and they live in the passes in between those barrier islands. They really kind of situate around shallow water, especially when they are near spawning. Now, here's something interesting. We have sound effects for today's video. Listen to this. That was a whole bunch of red drum. This is the singular red drum. Now, a lot of people have described it as if you take your finger and rub it along a balloon underwater. And that's kind of how it actually makes the sound. Its swim bladder, as we've discussed in previous Fish Fridays, its swim bladder is going to have a gas. It's gas filled to maintain neutral buoyancy in the water. Well, the red drum has tight muscles on both sides of that swim bladder, and it's basically flexing those muscles, which is kind of causing like a finger running across a balloon tightly. Now, males make this sound during spawning. So when you hear a bunch of these are going to spawn. This is during spawn time. They spawn near the shoreline, in these, grass seabeds. The females will lay between, listen to this, the females lay between 2,000 and 3 million eggs. Lot of eggs. The average female lays about 1.5 million eggs. The eggs are extremely tiny. They're about 1 millimeter in diameter, and they're actually very clear, with tiny droplets of oil in them. And those tiny droplets of oil actually make the eggs float. And they also provide nourishment for the larva. So what they do is they spawn, around the shoreline, and then the eggs will go up way into the shallows or in the lagoons to actually hatch. Now, getting into the issues with the red drum, in the early 1980s, there was a chef that made a blackened redfish recipe. As chefs do, made a recipe. However, the dish became so popular that redfish were overfished to near extinction. It got very drastic. It was sad how quickly it was. And unlike most other things, it was from recreational fishermen, not commercial fishermen. There was some commercial fishing going on, and there's only one state that still allows a small commercial redfish fishery, but all the rest are done by recreational fishermen. So your normal guys out there with your hook and line. They are a highly sought after fish. However, because of restrictions and laws and regulations that have been put on this, they have allowed the populations to rebuild. And something that happened in 2007, the President of the United States actually designated the red drum as a protected game fish, which allows even more regulations and laws, including federal regulation, to happen. Now, these recreational fishermen, they're going after these drums mainly when they're spawning. And how would they see they're spawning? Well, through this. You see this eye spot on the fin? Well, when they're in spawning, when they're in really shallow waters, making their runs up to spawning grounds and things like that, they'll actually expose part of their fin. And this is called finning. You can see there's a whole bunch of them right in here, finning. So what fly fishermen will do is they'll be out waiting in these seabed flats and just looking for that fin. And when they see one, they'll cast their fly right next to it. These fish eat almost anything. They eat crabs. They eat other fish. They eat insects. I mean, they'll eat anything they can get their mouth on. So they're actually very easy to catch if you find them. Now, kind of the last thing we're going to talk about is the genetics of this fish. Texas Parks and Wildlife, when we were trying to, I shouldn't say we, I am not affiliated with Texas Parks and Wildlife, but Texas Parks and Wildlife, when they were trying to rebuild the populations through artificial stocking, so raising redfish in fish hatcheries and then going out and putting the fish back in the ocean, they were actually having a lot of problems. They couldn't quite figure it out. Well, some geneticists got together and they determined that even though it was the same species, there were 3 distinct populations of redfish. And not only were there distinct populations, there's actually a spring run and a fall run. And once they split those out and started trying to raise them with their own population and their own yearly run, their success rate actually went through the roof. It was really neat, and it was a good example of how genetics really helped the conservation of a species. So, is there any questions? I know this was a short one, but it's an important fish. In my opinion, it probably advanced genetics by a decade and validated a lot of genetic practices. Extremely fished. I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy fishing for these every once in a while. They have been stocked in freshwater lakes. They can tolerate freshwater, but they can't really spawn in freshwater. So they do have to be continually stocked, but they provide a very important... No, so when they're young, they actually have a blue tint to the fish. when they are older, it's a very clear to red tint. Nama. It is not a fatty fish either. It's a very white fish. How much is the fish? Well, I don't remember what the fine is for illegally harvesting a redfish. Okay. So your first, I found it. So your first offense is a Class C misdemeanor. Second offense is a Class C misdemeanor can be anywhere between $25 and $500, and that's per fish. Second offense is a Class B misdemeanor, which is anywhere from $200 to $2,000 and or 6 months in jail. Then you have Class A misdemeanor, which is $500 to $4,000 and or 1 year in jail. Then you get a state jail felony. The felony would be $1,500 to $10,000 and or up to 2 years in jail. So, woo. But on top of all that, Texas Parks and Wildlife has a civil restitution for this. So in addition to the criminal penalty for fishing violations, this is not just red drum, but all hunting or fishing violations. The department will seek a civil recovery value for the loss or damage. The restitution of this could be it can range. It depends on what the fish is. I can't find that. But if you don't pay that, that's another Class A misdemeanor. So don't illegally harvest fish. Bad. All right, guys. Thank you so much for stopping in for this Fish Friday. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you again. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it if you would. Please give me a suggestion for a fish. I'm probably gonna do it because I don't have a lot of requests right now. So thank you guys so much again. Please take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, and